For those of you who are unfamiliar with Andrew Tate, let me give you guys a little introduction. Matter of fact, I'll give you the introduction that I received when I first heard of this guy. I'm sitting there scrolling through something, Twitter, YouTube Shorts, I don't know what. Maybe it was even TikTok. And I come across this video. I swear I thought it was a parody when I saw it.
If you ever see a man who's talking about food, oh, I had this amazing steak at this one restaurant. This steak is so amazing. He's broke. He's a brokey. Because if the steak was so amazing, he'd eat every day. And he'd eat every day to the point where he doesn't want to talk about it anymore. But he doesn't do that because he can't afford it.
This is just cringy, dude. This is absolutely terrible. Now, there's something I really enjoy eating. It's called Crock Bites. It's these little squares of like giga sharp cheddar cheese, right? And I can have as many of those as I want, basically. The bags are not that expensive. If I wanted, I could buy 16 bags a week and just eat those 24/7. I have enough money to buy 16 bags a week if I wanted, if I really wanted to do that. But I don't do that. You know why? Because I understand moderation. Because I understand if I eat that many Crock Bites, I'm not going to want to eat them anymore. So here you have in front of you somebody who is rich enough to buy as many Crock Bites as he wants and understands that it's a bad idea because I'll get burned out on the food. This guy isn't telling us that he's rich. He's telling us he doesn't understand moderation.
But he doesn't do that because he can't afford it. You understand? So whenever you see anyone talking about bragging about the meal they cooked or this ingredient they got or that steak they had, just do, because people do that to me all the time. And I'm just sitting there going, you're poor. Interesting. Oh, you're broke. Yes, okay. Oh, you went on your birthday and had that steak. Oh, wow. Once a year. Broke talk. Brokies. Real G's. Every day. Minor. Ain't a thing.
It's so painful to watch, dude. Oh, my God. So now you know who Andrew Tate is. Let me give you a little more of a formed out idea of the guy's belief system, and then I'm going to tell you how he got rich, because it's absolutely disgusting, seriously. Check this one out. This one is from 2022, I believe, possibly 2021.
ISIS are the real Muslims because ISIS do exactly what the book says. Kill everyone who's not a Muslim and be fucking raging lunatics. But all the other Muslims go, they're not real Muslims because I read the book and ignore those parts. Well, then you're not fucking Muslim because you're ignoring the fucking book.
Literally praising ISIS. Literally praising ISIS. Matter of fact, he's actually in trouble right now with the Romanian government for human trafficking. And the Taliban came out and expressed concern for his well-being and asked the Romanian government to release him. No joke. The Taliban. This guy is more famous than Donald Trump, or at the very least was briefly in 2022. His name was more searched on Google than Donald Trump's name was. That is insane. He is extremely influential among primarily young teenaged boys, like 14-year-old middle school-aged boys. Middle school, high school-aged boys. This is probably the thing that he's most famous for because he talks about this subject we're about to listen to next. He talks about this subject the most. He's hit the hardest for his misogyny. Listen to this one. This is from July 15th, 2022. This is around the time his name started exploding.
I believe that as a man, I should pay for the first date. I believe I should open the car door. I believe I should protect her, provide for her. I believe if she's my woman, she should be able to come to me with her problems and I should fix them.
That's all fine. There's no issue with any of that so far. If that's how you want to live your life, that's perfectly okay. Nothing sexist about that, right?
That makes me a sexist and a horrible person. Fine.
It doesn't.
You agree with the baseline. Everyone agrees with the foundations of what I say, but when I build on top of it, they try and pretend it's sexist.
Are you kidding me? Of course. Like, you come in and you say airplanes store gas in their or in their wings so that they can fly. I have no problem with that. I agreed. Yes. All of the baseline things you say are factual, true, normal, reasonable statements. But when you say they needed to put the gas in the wings so that they could fit the chemtrails chemicals in like the fuselage, then I have a problem with it. Yes. Is this a surprise to you? Of course.
If I have responsibility over her, then I must have a degree of authority. For the same reason, if I have responsibility over, and everyone's going to lose their mind, it's an example, it's only an analogy. If I have responsibility over a child, I have to have some authority. You cannot be responsible for something that doesn't listen to you.
Why did he pick a child?
You can't be responsible for a dog if it doesn't obey you.
Why did he pick a dog? Why is he comparing women to dogs and children? Seriously. He says it's only an analogy, but it reveals so much about your headspace. It tells us exactly how you feel about women and how you view them. I understand it's only an analogy. It reveals so much about you.
Or a child if it doesn't obey you, or a woman doesn't obey you.
The super sexist path.
Cool. Let's take a beautiful sports car. It doesn't matter. A house,
Yeah,
land,
didn't help.
whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever I'm responsible for,
object.
I have to have a degree of authority over.
God, dude, he picked a car. He picked an object next. Just ridiculous. So why are we talking about this guy now? He was just arrested in Romania for human trafficking. And I wanted to break down exactly what he did. I want to talk about whether or not those charges are reasonable and what brought him to the point where he was arrested for it in the first place. Some people may be familiar with Greta Thunberg. She got famous, 7 years ago, give or take, for giving speeches at the UN about the fact that people are destroying the planet, and she and her generation are going to have to be the ones to clean it up eventually. She's kind of viewed as a climate activist, generally speaking, and Andrew Tate heard about Greta and decided to tweet at her for some ridiculous reason, like whatever. So he tweets at her, I have a bunch of cars, and you know what, I should probably find the tweet thread. So Andrew Tate tweets to Greta Thunberg, I have 33 cars. My Bugatti has a W16 8-liter quad turbo. My 2 Ferrari 812 Competizione have 6.5-liter V12s. This is just the start. Please provide your email address so I can send a complete list of my car collection and their respective enormous emissions. Like anybody cares, right? And then Greta comes in and she says, yes, please do enlighten me. Small d energy at getalife.com is her email address. Obviously just kind of making fun of the dude. Well, he comes back and releases a video, an angry video, directed at Greta. This is the video that he released as a response to Greta Thunberg. I love how he smokes this cigar. He must like phallic objects near his mouth all the time.
Release some greenhouse gases.
He's so cringy all the time. He doesn't realize how embarrassing he is. It's like, it's painful to watch how stupid this guy is. I don't like insulting people. I don't do it by and large, but it's just, it's so bad how embarrassing it is to watch him.
I'm obviously a stranger to online controversy. It's not something I often do. But now, the mainstream press is commenting on the fact that I was informing Greta that my very extensive car collection with internal combustion engines, which run on dead dinosaurs, have an enormous emission profile. And she replied by telling me her own email address. Greta's email address is, I have small energy. Why would that be your own email address, Greta? Strange.
He thinks this is some kind of win. Like, she's a woman, you realize, right? You accept that she's not a dude and doesn't have a, right? Is that just me that's recognized that? I mean, is Tate not connecting the dots on this? Seriously, everything the dude does is cringy and embarrassing and terrible.
I mean, also, I don't want to assume her gender. It's 50-50, but it is what it is. I'm not actually mad at Greta. Please bring me pizza and make sure that these boxes are not recycled. Thank you. So I'm not actually mad at Greta, right? Because she doesn't realize she's been programmed. She doesn't realize she's a slave of the Matrix. She thinks she's doing good. Someone has sat her down and convinced her to try and convince you to beg your government to tax you into poverty to stop the sun from being hot.
Okay, no to all of that. And I don't feel like getting into a protracted climate change conversation at this moment. The sun being hot is not what's causing climate change. I can't even believe we're here right now discussing whether or not climate change is real. This is ridiculous. I'm not going to dignify it with a response.
And then because I called her out on it.
He didn't call her out on it. He was just being a D-bag, sending pictures of his cars like anybody cares.
Mobile Matrix got this bot farm to like and retweet and all this bot commenting to try and pretend that her telling me that she has a small d in her own email address somehow teaches me a lesson.
He is so stupid. I can't stand it. I don't even know what to do with it.
Welcome to a new episode of The Clown Show. But now I know, at least, that Greta, with a little hate-filled face, bitter, sitting somewhere without the heating on, in the cold, a little hat, shivering, views my tweets, which is going to make my Twitter account far more fun into eternity.
Okay, anyways, after this happens, Andrew Tate got arrested. He got raided by the police. They came in and arrested him and his brother for human trafficking charges. Yeah, here's the arrest video right here. 40 million views on this. What's with his lips here? That's kind of weird, right? Yeah, and the most beautiful part about this is the fact that there were female police officers that took part in the raid. He believes that there are no female police officers. I am dead serious. I am not joking. That is something that he has said. This is not the first time they've been raided either. So what happened? I looked into this, and as it turns out, the way that he got rich, he's a famous kickboxer, or he was a pretty good kickboxer at one point in his life. The way that he got rich, though, is a little bit different. The way he tells it, he had a bunch of girlfriends, and he talked these girls into doing camming and sharing the profits with him, basically. Kind of like putting them on OnlyFans, but he was doing it without informing them entirely of the situation and being forthright and honest about it, because they didn't realize that there were other girls doing this too. They thought that he was in love with them and they were in love with him, and they were doing it to help him and themselves, to work with each other, to improve each other's lives. They didn't realize that he was basically a scumbag that had gathered 6 girls together and was doing this with all of them. There's something called undue influence. Now, undue influence is oftentimes used in court cases to determine if somebody was influenced against their will, or they were kind of pushed into doing something that they shouldn't have been pushed into doing, or maybe wouldn't have done otherwise. Undue influence is influence by which a person is induced to act otherwise than by their own free will or without adequate attention to the consequences. Cults use undue influence on people constantly, but human traffickers like Andrew Tate use undue influence too. So Andrew Tate was not informing these girls of the entire situation. He was using something called the lover boy method of human trafficking, also known as the boyfriend method. He makes these girls love him and do absolutely anything for him, and then he convinces them to get in front of a camera to earn money for both of them. In fact, on his website a while back, he put up and said, he even said, I don't remember the exact statistics, something like 50% of the girls that he had doing the camming for him had never done camming before meeting him and were his girlfriends, or started out as his girlfriends at the very least. How did he get caught, I hear you asking? Interesting question. Apparently, one of his girlfriends that he had, so-called girlfriends as he refers to them, was trapped in his basement, didn't have a phone. He took her passport, took all of her stuff. She had to sneak a phone call out to her boyfriend or to her ex-boyfriend in the United States, whose phone number she still remembered because she didn't have her contacts in front of her. Her ex-boyfriend called to the U.S. Embassy in Romania where they live, and the embassy investigated and found her in his basement. He was human trafficking, full-blown, taken levels of human trafficking, dead serious. And this isn't even like something you have to wonder about. This isn't something like, oh, are these allegations or not? Because he tells us in his book. He says it right here. He told us exactly how he went about doing it. Now, a court can worry about innocent until proven guilty. I don't even know if Romanian courts work that way with that presumption in the first place. But I don't have to work from that presumption because he's guilty. He said he's guilty himself. So as you can see on screen, I have the book that I'm currently reading on my Telltale Reads YouTube channel. The title is President Donald J. Trump, the Son of Man, the Christ. It's the kind of thing where you can just kind of jump in at any point. Like, each video that I produce stands independently of the rest. But there is like a linear progression from like chapter to chapter to chapter if you do want to read them in order. Well, anyway, this book was written by a guy who believes that Donald Trump is the Messiah, the second coming of Jesus. And there's some absolutely backwards reasoning involved here. But anyway, we're almost done with this book. We are on page 250 of 321. I've decided I'm going to read a new book. I've decided on the book that I'll be reading next. It is called The Tate Bible by our very own, the Tater Tot himself, Andrew Tate. It's terrible. It is so bad. The things that he did to make the money that he has were illegal. The business model that he implemented is illegal, not only in the United States, but in Romania where he did this, and basically anywhere in Europe. It's against the law to traffic other human beings the way that he did. And here's where it gets really interesting. This book that he wrote describes exactly how he did it and how to do it. This is like how to incriminate yourself in criminal activity 101. That's what this book is all about. It starts out with the Tate prayer, the Tate's prayer, apparently. Our Tate, who art in Bucharest, Andrew be thy name, thy kingdom come through cam and fun. The cam thing there is a reference to how he made his money, which is through human trafficking. Online as it is on the blockchain, give us this day our daily vodka and forgive those, the munchers, for their trespasses against us. Lead us to women for temptation. And deliver unto us our dominoes, for his is the Lambo, the McLaren, and Ferrari, forever with Tristan. Amen. His brother's name is Tristan. He even has a picture of himself as Jesus in the book, so that's pretty interesting too, right? Yeah, just kind of glancing through like the table of contents here. He's got his dedication. He's got a chapter called The Truth About Your Ego. Do Girls Love Money? 50 Things Every Man Should Do. Laws of the Pimp Game. No joke. These are the titles of the chapters. I had a gun pulled on me. I've had a gun pulled on me too. Why? What could you possibly have to say about that in an entire chapter of your book? He acts like the world's biggest hard ass. It drives me nuts. Imagine life as a millionaire. The Tate brothers. Why you'll never be rich. The mindset you must have to achieve what you want. Next chapter is the Tate brothers. Why you'll never be rich. I mean, what could he possibly say in this? Why is he so famous? Why are people latching onto this? Again, he's a human trafficker. He has no respect for women. None. They are worth nothing to him. These are his words. They are worth nothing to him. Let's just look at like 50 things every man should do. Let's just jump in anywhere. Fly first class and don't sleep. Drink a lot of champagne and eat a lot of food and watch bullshit movies. Be extra friendly to the cabin crew. Enjoy the experience for what it is. An experience. Okay, thank you. Number 17, dig a hole big enough to stand in. It's good for your upper body. It takes resolve and will, and it's a reminder of where you're going to end up. Once the hole is dug, fill it up and go live your life. It seems pointless. Number 15, get arrested. Hey, he's checked that one off the list, hasn't he? A couple nights in jail is good for you. I've accumulated about 2 weeks across different incidences. I think that might just be the perfect amount. Get a loan and refuse to pay it back. Sell or transfer your assets first, or do it just before you move country. Cash enslaves people. It's not fair. The banks are absolute criminals, and you need to get some small retribution. They'll simply print more money. F them. At one point, he had up to like 75 girls throughout different properties that he was renting. Makes them fall in love with him, eventually takes their passports and anything that they could possibly use to escape, and then puts them in front of a camera and forces them to. This is all human trafficking stuff. This is the real deal. So when you hear Andrew Tate talking about women understand that it's coming from the perspective of a human trafficker, a full-blown, organized crime human trafficker. Check this clip out. This one is from a video that he did. It's kind of couched as like a debate between feminists. It wasn't a debate. These people that he was talking to were not feminists, and they weren't even debating him. Listen to what he had to say here. This is from Christmas Day, I think, is when this came out, 2022.
There's no women on the front line in Ukraine. That is psyop bull. They put some chick there dancing around doing Pokemon dances to try and convince men to go die in a ditch. It's garbage. If you go to the front line of Ukraine right now, you do not see women in their makeup and their manicures. You see men in the freezing cold dying. You know where the women are? Dubai, chilling. That's where the women are. So to sit and pretend that women are just as capable physically as men is a lie. It's delusion.
Nobody ever said that women are stronger than or as strong as men overall on average. Nobody ever made that claim. But you know what claim Andrew Tate did make? He made the claim that there are no women soldiers, that there are no female police officers. He genuinely, to the bottom of his heart, believes that anytime you see a female police officer or soldier or anything at all, a mechanic, it's a psyop by the government. The government has set the system up to look a certain way to trick you into believing that there are women that, you know, fight on the front lines or that police the streets or whatever other thing. He is a deeply misogynistic person. He does not like women. Well, he likes women as far as he can use them. I'll say that. They are only good for being used in his mind. Again, he's got the mindset of a human trafficker. He is a human trafficker, a self-avowed human trafficker who did it through the lover boy method of human trafficking. Used undue influence to manipulate people, to take away their free will and convince them to do something that would benefit him and not benefit them by withholding information from them about it. Check this out. We can watch him actually manipulate somebody in real time. We can watch him twist things around and take advantage of the situation in real time. Watch this. Again, this one is from Christmas Day 2022. The girl on the right here, the far right, this is Brittany Renner, apparently. She's like an Instagram model, 4.5 million subbies on Instagram, I think. I'm not familiar with her, but apparently she's really famous. And she went on this thing with Tate to talk to him about feminism and stuff. Listen to this.
Is cheating morally correct?
Yes.
Depends.
Yes.
How
So
can
you're
you say? How can you say that? Are you
You're
joking?
okay with your woman cheating on you then?
Absolutely not. That's wrong.
No, because
Oh, it's around when she cheats on you, but you can cheat on her.
So the dude says that it's morally correct for a man to cheat on a woman. It's not just is there like no morality doesn't play into it, like it's whatever, you know. No. It's morally right to cheat on women. That's what he said. And it's wrong for women to cheat on men. This should show you the mismatch, the imbalance in this guy's head. Keep listening, because it gets even crazier.
what does the woman want in your eyes? What do you think? And what's the game you give for the boys?
I'm going to tell you, but before that, I need another Clementine, and I need to give half to our friend here because she just rolled her eyes at me. And I'm perspicacious. I notice everything. She doesn't realize that I'm a ninja. I detect these things. Even when I'm looking directly ahead, I can detect it.
So what he's doing here is being charismatic and flirty and funny to try to win her back for all intents and purposes. I don't know that she even rolled her eyes at him, but that's kind of viewed as a slight against him. She just didn't seem to like what he was saying. She's perfectly allowed to not like what he's saying, but he's taking issue with it. Okay, fair enough. He's trying to win her back. Keep listening.
So
That's why you wear
I'm going to give her
shades.
some of my Clementine, and she's going to feel better. So I'm going to get a Clementine for you. Would you like some Clementine, my dear?
I'm sure.
You want some Clementine?
I think for me, it's like,
I asked you a question. Would you like some
I would
Clementine?
love.
She already fucking answered that. She already said, yes, I want some Clementine. Well, first of all, this isn't even Tate's studio. These aren't even Tate's Clementines. They're somebody else's. They're all guests at this other person's studio. Why is he offering her a Clementine? The reason he framed it like that in the first place and forced her to answer despite the fact that she already answered is because he wants to push her off her footing and gain the upper ground. He wants to put himself in a position where he's dominating and controlling the situation. So, yes, she can answer me and she can tell me how she feels about things, which is what she's about to go on to do. But she's only going to do it on my terms when I say it's okay for her to do so. So he interrupts her and forces her to answer his question again, despite the fact that she already did, so that he has control of the situation. So he has domination over the situation. This is the kind of manipulation that I'm talking about. This is the same kind of manipulation that he used against his human trafficking victims. We're seeing it on full display here.
Ask you a question. Would you
Yeah,
like some
I would
Clementine?
love some,
You
yeah.
want some Clementine?
Yeah.
We're going to hook it up.
Okay.
Clementine's coming. All right. Go on. Continue.
Okay. What?
See, now she can tell him how she feels about it, but only on his terms. Okay, continue.
Go on. Continue.
Okay. What?
No, I mean, I just feel like this is definitely a different conversation for me.
Okay, so it was like 10 minutes later, right? And the studio brought more clementines to him. I put a cut in because the rest of the conversation was irrelevant. He didn't even answer her question, FYI. He went off on some other unrelated subject. If you want to see the whole entire breakdown beginning to end, by the by, it's on my Telltale Unfiltered channel. You can just watch the whole thing beginning to end. It will all have released on Unfiltered when you finally end up seeing this. So. All this stuff happens in part 3 of the breakdown I did on Unfiltered if you want to see it. So anyways, he gets his hands on these clementines. Why did they bring him the clementines, I hear you asking? Again, it's not Tate's studio. It's somebody else's studio. This other person, who is a huge Tate fan, by the by, brought him these clementines. 2 of them, I think. They brought him 2 clementines, one for him, one for her, and now he's sitting here peeling it for her.
So if a guy cheats on a girl, is there ever a point where she?
Yeah, there's a lot of cheating. There's completely a lot of cheating.
So
that's too
like
far.
if he knocks up another girl, would you say that's too
all right,
far?
all right. So
This is the studio owner, and she's a complete Tate stan. She's a Tater, if you will.
all right. So first things first, I'm a man of my word. I don't even think I'm a liar. So here's your clementine.
Thank you.
He peeled it for her, like literally everything from beginning to end in this interaction was intended to put her in a submissive position and dominate over the conversation and the situation. Men do this kind of thing to women all the time. It's like constant. I honestly see this a lot. And it's really, really disgusting to see. If you wanted to take control back of the conversation and force your way out of this like submissive positioning, you would probably have to talk over Tate and kind of put him in his place, not allow him to put you in the more submissive position. Don't submit to his construction of the conversation where you are answering the questions that he asks and only speaking when he allows you to speak. Don't submit to that. Railroad over him just like he's railroading over her. That is how you would have to regain footing in this conversation. But if there's one thing I know about human traffickers and people like Andrew Tate, it's that when they're challenged or pushed on this, when they're not allowed to be given dominance over the conversation like he just tried to do, they stand up and walk out in a huff because they can't deal with being equals. So if you ever find yourself in this situation, talk over the other person. Force your way into the conversation the exact same way they're doing it. But understand that they're not going to put up with it. They're going to walk out. They're going to leave. So anyways, he hands her this clementine. Keep watching to what happens next.
Here's your clementine.
Thank you.
And he peeled it. What a gentleman.
Thank you.
I'm a gentleman.
He's not a gentleman. He's controlling the situation. Everything from top to bottom in this situation is manipulation.
Right. So obviously, I'm not saying blatantly disrespect your woman, right? She's your woman. She's your queen. She's the most important thing in the world to you. She needs to be treated in a way that she feels that, right?
Dude, just his whole mindset is so ass backwards. Everything about it. Let me give you a little lead up to this conversation. They were talking about how women are only good for one thing, and that is looking pretty and leeching off of a man. That's what Tate said just a minute or two earlier. Again, if you want to see the whole thing, it's on my Unfiltered YouTube channel. This is in part 3, what we're watching at this moment. But Brittany Renner here says, I disagree. I don't want to like look pretty and leech off of a man. I have my own money. I want somebody who's interested in having experiences with me, going to see the Grand Canyon and going to Yellowstone National Park and all that stuff, like having a good time, working as equals and all that stuff. You don't have to like leech off of somebody. That's not what your whole life needs to be about. And Tate takes that as another opportunity to dominate over top of her, to put her in a submissive position. Listen to how he does it.
I understand. Okay, so that's a good point, and so I'll just ask the first question. I'm going to ask the second question. The realization you've come to is an interesting one. It is something that happens, especially to females as they mature.
So she criticizes him. She says he is incorrect in his assessment of women, and he takes that criticism and says, people at your age commonly come to this realization, but I came to this realization a long time ago and already poked holes in it and know exactly why it's wrong. He's infantilizing her. He's treating her like a baby, like she doesn't know what she's talking about. She doesn't know what she's doing, and she needs him to explain it for her. Once again, another manipulation tactic to dominate over her.
Females as they mature. Don't you think it's strange, or why do you think that 0 women on Earth choose those kind of men who they perhaps have slightly lower status but are more likely to be loyal to them and be monogamous, etc. In the modern world, because like I said, the world's changed, why do you think 0 women choose them when they're at the peak of their choices? So when a woman is 19 and she can go anywhere she wants, every man wants her, she can go on any yacht in Miami, she can get flown out to Dubai, when she has all the choices in the world, why is she completely uninterested in those kind of men? And then when she gets to a certain age of maturity and there's a whole new generation of girls who have all the choices, then they sit there and go, you know what? I deserve monogamy and da-da, and they all of a sudden want to grow up and mature. Why does no woman decide that when she actually is at her most valuable?
They do. What women is he talking to, or what women does he interact with that he thinks every woman out there, literally no other women, are out there just looking for monogamy and a strong relationship? It's not even like just hot women who go and do this thing or that thing or whatever. It's not like tens that go and do this. I knew like a ton of very pretty people in high school and, you know, throughout the rest of time who were interested in monogamy and wanted to have experiences with people and just live their lives and were not out to like take advantage of people. Gold diggers, in all seriousness, are very, very rare. It's extremely uncommon to find a gold digger, in all seriousness. Tate probably has a skewed view of society because gold diggers are the only people that are around him. I don't think I've ever even met a gold digger in my life. Tate takes his own personal experience and applies it to everything. The rest of the world, the rest of everything entirely. And while he goes about doing that, he does his best to take advantage of the people around him, to manipulate them, to dominate over them, and to get them to do what he wants them to do, even going so far as to commit human trafficking. I mean, hell, the guy even said that he moved to Romania because it's harder to prosecute crimes there. Dead serious. But for what it's worth, what I was talking about a second ago with Tate only accepting personal experience, he had something of a debate with Hassan Piker a while back. This was from July 21st, 2022. Listen to what he said in this debate with Hassan Piker.
You're deriving your truth from an internet study. That's fine. You can derive your truth from an internet study on a bunch of different things.
No, it's just a study. It's a scientific study. It's not an internet study.
Things. The truth of life is the truth that you experience as an individual. That is the only truth that we all live within. You live within your truths, I live within my truths, because these are the truths I've experienced as an individual. If certain things happen to you over and over and over and over and over again, but the truth on the internet says it's not true, that doesn't mean that your experiences are any less real.
No one's saying your experiences aren't real. They're saying you could be an anomaly. We're talking about personal bias here. We're saying your experiences, as valid as you want them to be, precious little snowflake, could be outliers. You need to look at the scientific studies, the scientific data, to see if the experiences that you have are normal common experiences or not. Like, he's trying to argue right now that women are worse drivers than men, when that is objectively false. Women are better drivers than men overall. And he's refusing to accept Hassan Piker's scientific study on this. And as the basis for refusing it or rejecting it, he's saying, my personal experience says it's not true. That's the headspace the guy's in. That's where his mind is.
You want to sit here and say, oh, the internet said X. I'm sure the internet did. I'm talking about my personal experiences, and some people agree with me and some people do not. That is perfectly fine. Don't give a fuck.
Yeah, but there's an actual objective, real answer to this question. Like, there's an empirical answer that we can find. We can run tests. We can look at car insurance studies and all kinds of things. But instead of looking for the answer, the actual objective, real answer, he just insists that he's correct about it because he's a special little snowflake who can't be wrong about anything.
People are listening to me and they're either agreeing
I know,
with me
but
or
you're
not.
still wrong, and that's the problem.
You can drag up all the empirical evidence in the world you want to try and drag up. Anyone with a brain knows how that aids the world agendas anyway. I don't want to go too political on a stream that's going to get taken down.
Sheeple!
He's saying, even if I thought women were worse drivers, I've seen the empirical evidence, and I'm so smart that I ignore my own eyes and ears and believe what the internet tells me. That's what he's
That's
coming along
not what
and
I'm
saying.
asking you to do, my friend.
I'm sure you're double vaccinated. It all makes sense to me now. You believe what you're told to believe. You don't believe your own eyes. You don't believe your own ears. And that's why you're going to sit here and talk about empirical evidence that you found on Google. Cool. If you believe everything that's on Google, that is your prerogative.
This isn't about finding something on Google. It's about looking at scientific studies. He doesn't read books. He refuses to read books because you shouldn't be getting other people's personal experiences. You should be only using your own personal experiences. He doesn't believe scientific studies ever because the government lies to you. They're trying to take advantage of you and blah, 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 blah. So that's his real position when it all boils down to it at the end of the day. I don't understand how you can even operate as a sentient human being with that mindset, in all seriousness.
My friend, and if you think that makes you sound smart in the modern world after the 3 years you've just been through, to say that I read a piece of paper that tells me to believe X, so I believe X, and I ignore my own personal experiences.
No, we can look at data. Anyway, so that's Andrew Tate. He is a human trafficker. He's an abuser. He's a misogynist and an absolutely terrible person in every way, shape, and form. There is no redeeming quality about this guy. None, as far as I can tell. Here's where it gets even crazier. The guy's an American. He was born in America. He grew up in the United States. And that accent he has is fake. You can hear it kind of slipping out every now and then. You can hear him say status or status instead of status sometimes. Pretty common, actually. If you really listen, you can totally tell his accent is fake. Everything about the guy is fake. He's obsessed with just being the best at everything, and it makes me cringe. I can't stand it. But if you want to see more of it, because I honestly find it absolutely fascinating, I'm doing like full breakdowns of his stuff on my Unfiltered channel right now, so give it a look. And let me know if you want to see more stuff like this in the comments. So I'm just going to pull a few things up here real quick so that I can go over them. Be just a second. Probably should have had this done already, sorry. I'm usually more prepared than this. Feel like I'm sitting in a meeting in front of bosses trying to get like a presentation together that I was totally not prepared for at all. And they can see that I wasn't prepared for it and now they're judging me for it.